When you wake before the world, you immediately learn who you are. There is no applause in the darkness, no praise waiting for you, no comfort calling your name. There is only silence, resistance, and the weight of your own will. Most men turn away from this moment. They press themselves back into warmth, into ease, into delay. They believe rest is harmless, that comfort is deserved, that struggle can wait. But every time you choose comfort over difficulty, you teach your mind to be weak. You train yourself to avoid resistance instead of mastering it. I chose a different path. I learned that hardship is not an enemy, it is the first and greatest teacher. Hardship strips you of illusion. When the body is tired and the mind protests, there is no room for lies. You cannot pretend to be strong when you are not. You cannot hide behind excuses when pain is present. Discomfort exposes truth. It shows you exactly how disciplined you are, how controlled you are, how committed you are. Most men avoid this truth. They drown it in entertainment, distractions, and soft routines. But the warrior welcomes it because truth is the raw material of strength. Each difficult morning, each cold start, each task done without desire becomes a blade sharpening the mind. You begin to understand that motivation is unreliable. Feelings change like the weather. If your actions depend on how you feel, you will always be a servant to your emotions. Hardship teaches you something far greater: obedience to principle. You act not because you feel ready, but because it must be done. This is the moment discipline is born. The modern man believes hardship is something to be escaped. He seeks convenience in everything: faster paths, easier methods, softer outcomes. But ease produces fragile minds. When pressure arrives, they break. When pain comes, they retreat. When life resists, they collapse. Hardship is not cruelty, it is preparation. It is the training ground that builds resilience before the real battle begins. A man who has never tested himself in discomfort will fail when life shows no mercy. Daily hardship is not about suffering without purpose. It is about deliberate resistance. You choose tasks that demand effort. You rise when it is uncomfortable. You train when the body wants rest. You think when the mind wants distraction. These are not heroic acts, they are quiet, unseen choices, but repeated daily they transform you. What once felt unbearable becomes normal. What once felt impossible becomes routine. This is how power is built: slowly, invisibly, unbreakably. When hardship becomes part of your daily life, fear loses its grip. You no longer panic when things are difficult because difficulty is familiar. You no longer avoid challenge because challenge is your environment. While others hesitate, you move. While others complain, you act. This calm under pressure is not talent, it is conditioning. It is the result of choosing difficulty long before it was required. Hardship also teaches humility. It reminds you that strength is earned daily and lost quickly. Miss a day and weakness begins to creep back in, become complacent and the edge dulls. The warrior does not seek comfort even after victory. He understands that ease is the beginning of decline. Mastery demands constant pressure, constant refinement, constant resistance. The moment you stop pushing yourself, you begin to decay. There is also clarity in hardship. When the body is working and the mind is focused, unnecessary thoughts fall away. Petty worries lose importance. False desires fade. You see what truly matters: discipline, control, preparation. Comfort clouds judgment, but struggle sharpens it. In difficulty, priorities become clear. You learn to value effort over appearance, consistency over excitement, depth over noise. Many believe hardship will make them bitter or broken. That only happens when pain is resisted. When hardship is chosen, when it is faced willingly, it becomes empowering. You are no longer a victim of circumstances. You are the one deciding to step into resistance. That choice alone builds confidence, not the loud kind, not the kind that seeks attention, but the quiet certainty that you can endure. This is why the few rise while the many remain average. The few understand that strength is not given, it is forged. They wake when others sleep. They work when others wait. They push when others retreat. Over time, the gap becomes unbridgeable, not because the few are special, but because they trained while others were comfortable. Hardship also teaches patience. Results do not come quickly. Progress is slow and often invisible. The ordinary man quits here. He wants proof, validation, immediate reward. The warrior continues without confirmation. He trusts the process because he understands that mastery is built beneath the surface long before it is visible. Like steel tempered in fire, the strength is forming where no one can see. When you embrace daily hardship, you stop asking life to be easy, you ask yourself to be stronger. This shift changes everything. You no longer blame circumstances. You no longer complain about difficulty. You see every challenge as another opportunity to refine yourself. Every obstacle becomes training. Every struggle becomes instruction. This mindset is unbearable to most modern men. They want comfort with success, ease with respect, rewards without sacrifice. But the world does not work that way. Reality respects strength, not intention. It yields only to those who have proven themselves through action and endurance. Hardship is the price of entry. If you want power, choose resistance. If you want clarity, choose struggle. If you want to stand where few can stand, live the way few are willing to live. Wake early, do the hard thing first. Seek discomfort before it finds you. Let hardship shape you daily until strength becomes your nature, not your effort. Strength is built in the moments you choose difficulty when no one is watching. Discipline is not something you feel, it is something you obey. Most men misunderstand this. They wait for motivation, for energy, for the right mood, believing action should come after desire. This belief makes them weak before they even begin. The moment you negotiate with your impulses, you surrender authority over yourself. I learned early that the mind will always seek comfort, excuses, delay. If you listen to it, you will live as a servant to your own weakness. Discipline begins the moment you stop listening. There are no negotiations in the warrior's mind. When a task must be done, it is done. Not tomorrow, not when it feels easier, not when conditions improve. The body may resist, the mind may complain, emotions may protest, but none of these are commanders. They are obstacles to be overcome. Modern men collapse under this standard because they are trained to obey their feelings. They believe discomfort is a signal to stop. I treat it as a signal to proceed. Every day presents choices that reveal who you are: to rise early or remain in warmth, to train or to rest without reason, to sharpen your skill or distract yourself. These choices seem small, insignificant, harmless, but repeated daily they shape your character more powerfully than any single grand decision. Discipline is not built in moments of intensity, it is built in routine obedience to what is necessary. The warrior does not seek excitement, he seeks consistency. Excuses are poison. They sound reasonable, intelligent, justified. I am tired. I deserve rest. I will do it later. Each excuse trains the mind to betray itself. Once excuses are allowed, they multiply. Soon discipline erodes and weakness takes its place. I learned to treat excuses as enemies. The moment one appears, it must be cut down immediately. There is no debate, no justification, no mercy. Action silences excuses. Movement destroys hesitation. Self-discipline without negotiation also means mastering desire. Desire is powerful, but it is blind. It seeks pleasure without regard for consequence. The ordinary man follows desire and wonders why his life lacks direction. The warrior uses desire as fuel but never as a guide. He chooses actions based on principle, not impulse. He eats, trains, rests, and works with intention, not indulgence. This restraint builds control, and control builds power. The world tries to convince men that strict discipline is oppressive, that freedom comes from doing whatever one wants. This is a lie. True freedom comes from mastery over oneself. A man who cannot control his habits, his thoughts, his urges is not free. He is ruled by them. Discipline is liberation. It removes chaos from the mind and replaces it with order. In that order, clarity emerges. Consistency is the true measure of discipline. Anyone can act when inspired. Anyone can work hard for a short time. Very few can act when bored, tired, uninspired, or unseen. This is where the warrior separates from the crowd. He does not need encouragement. He does not need recognition. He does not need emotion. He needs only a standard, and he meets it daily without exception. Discipline must extend to thought as well. An undisciplined mind wanders endlessly, replaying fears, fantasies, regrets, and distractions. The warrior trains the mind to return to the present task. When doubt arises, it is observed and dismissed. When fear appears, it is acknowledged and neutralized. When the mind drifts, it is brought back with firmness. This mental discipline is harder than physical training, but it is more important. A sharp body with a weak mind is useless. There will be days when discipline feels heavy, days when the body aches, the mind resists, and progress feels invisible. These days are the most important. Anyone can perform when it is easy. Discipline proves itself when it is difficult. Each time you act despite resistance, you strengthen the authority you hold over yourself. Over time, this authority becomes unbreakable. You no longer question whether you will act, you simply do. Modern men struggle with this because they seek balance before mastery. They want comfort and progress at the same time. They want results without sacrifice. But discipline demands priority. There are seasons for softness, but mastery is not built there. The warrior understands when to harden himself and does so without hesitation. He knows that self-denial today prevents regret tomorrow. There is also silence in discipline. You do not announce it, you do not display it, you do not seek validation for it. Discipline is personal, internal, invisible. Others may never know the standards you live by, but they will feel the presence of a man who is in control of himself. His words carry weight. His actions are decisive. His presence is steady. This is not arrogance, it is quiet authority earned through obedience to principle. Over time, discipline reshapes identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries, hopes, or wishes. You become someone who acts. This shift changes how you approach everything. Challenges no longer intimidate you. Resistance no longer surprises you. You trust yourself because you have proven repeatedly that you do not abandon your path when it becomes uncomfortable. This level of discipline is unbearable to most because it leaves no room for self-deception. You cannot hide from your own standards. You cannot blame circumstances. You cannot lie to yourself. Each day you either uphold your discipline or you weaken it. The warrior accepts this responsibility without complaint. He understands that mastery demands accountability, and accountability demands discipline. When discipline governs your life, chaos retreats. Energy is no longer wasted on indecision. Time is no longer lost to distraction. Your actions align with your goals and your goals align with your values. This alignment creates power that others cannot understand because they live in constant negotiation with themselves. If you want to rise above the many, you must become ruthless with yourself. No excuses, no bargaining, no surrender to impulse. Discipline is not something you occasionally practice, it is something you live. When the mind says stop, you continue. When comfort calls, you refuse. When weakness whispers, you act. A man who obeys his discipline without negotiation becomes unstoppable. Focus is not something you claim to have. It is something you prove through what you refuse. Most men believe they are focused because they work, because they try, because they stay busy. But busyness is not focus. Noise is not movement. Activity without direction is weakness disguised as effort. I learned that the mind can only strike with full power when it is aimed at one target. Anything else is wasted motion, a blade swung wildly in the air. The world will always try to pull your attention apart. Voices, opinions, entertainment, desires, fears, comparisons, they surround you from every direction. If you allow them in, they will divide your strength until nothing remains but exhaustion. This is why ruthless focus feels unbearable to most men. It demands isolation of the mind. It demands the courage to turn away from what feels good, familiar, and socially acceptable. It demands that you walk a narrower path while others wander freely, convinced they are alive when they are only distracted. True focus begins with elimination. You must remove what does not serve your path, not later, not slowly, completely. Habits that dull the mind, conversations that drain energy, pleasures that steal time, all of these must be cut away. The ordinary man tries to balance everything. The warrior chooses. Balance is comfort, choice is power. When you try to keep everything, you master nothing. Solitude is not loneliness, it is training. When you remove constant stimulation, the mind resists, it becomes restless. Uncomfortable, even fearful. This is good. That resistance reveals how dependent you were on noise. Staying with that discomfort builds mental strength. Over time, silence sharpens perception. You begin to hear your own thoughts clearly. You begin to see what truly matters. Focus grows where distraction dies. Ruthless focus also means refusing validation. Most men are enslaved by the need to be seen, liked, approved of. They shape their actions around how they will be perceived. This fractures attention. The warrior acts according to principle, not applause. He does not explain himself to those who cannot understand the path. He does not slow down to make others comfortable. His direction is internal, unchanging, and therefore powerful. A focused mind does not rush, it moves with precision. Speed without clarity is reckless. Slowness with intention is deadly accurate. The warrior observes before acting. He studies patterns, timing, and weakness. He does not waste energy reacting emotionally. Each action is measured, each movement deliberate. This calm intensity unsettles others because they cannot read it, cannot predict it, cannot influence it. Distraction is a form of weakness because it removes your ability to respond fully. When the mind is divided, reaction replaces decision. Impulse replaces strategy. The warrior trains his mind to return again and again to the task in front of him. When thoughts wander, they are brought back. When temptation arises, it is dismissed. This repetition builds dominance over the self, and dominance over the self precedes dominance over all else. Focus also demands patience. You cannot pursue many paths deeply at once. Mastery requires time, repetition, and sustained attention. The modern man abandons this process because it feels slow and unrewarding. He seeks novelty, quick progress, constant stimulation. The warrior remains. He stays with the craft when it becomes boring. He continues when progress is invisible. This is where power is quietly accumulated. Mental isolation does not mean hatred of others, it means independence from their influence. You listen without obeying, you observe without absorbing, you stand among many without becoming many. This inner separation allows clarity even in chaos. When others panic, the focused mind remains steady. When others chase noise, the focused mind advances. Every distraction you resist strengthens your focus. Every time you choose depth over stimulation, your mind sharpens. Over months and years, this creates a difference that cannot be faked. Others will wonder how you move with such certainty, how you remain calm under pressure, how you see what they cannot. The answer is simple: you trained your attention like a weapon. Focus also reveals truth. When the mind is clear, lies collapse. You see your own weaknesses without denial. You see false paths before walking them. You recognize wasted effort early. This honesty is painful at first, but it saves years of misdirection. The distracted mind avoids truth. The focused mind confronts it. Most men fear this level of focus because it removes escape. There is nowhere to hide when the mind is quiet and directed. No excuses, no noise, no distractions to soften failure, only action and consequence. This is why few choose it, but this is also why those few rise far above the rest. Ruthless focus turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. It compresses years of scattered work into months of progress. It aligns energy instead of leaking it. When focus becomes a way of life, even small actions carry weight. Even silence has power. You no longer need to prove anything. Your presence speaks through precision. Do not seek to do more, seek to see clearly. Do not chase everything. Choose one path and walk it fully. Remove what weakens your attention. Protect your mind as you would protect your blade. In a world addicted to distraction, the focused man becomes untouchable. A mind that refuses distraction becomes a weapon no chaos can dull. Life does not announce its attacks. It does not warn you before it tests you. One day you believe the ground beneath your feet is solid and the next it shifts. Most men are shocked by this. They feel betrayed, confused, angry. They ask why it happened to them. That question itself reveals their weakness. They lived as if life were meant to be gentle. I never made that mistake. I learned early that life is a battlefield in many forms, and a man who walks unprepared has already chosen defeat. Conflict is not always loud. It does not always come with raised voices or open confrontation. Often it arrives quietly, disguised as opportunity, comfort, friendship, or ease. The untrained mind trusts appearances. It assumes goodwill, fairness, and stability. This is not wisdom, it is negligence. To survive and to dominate, you must see beyond what is presented. You must anticipate resistance, betrayal, and hardship not with fear but with calm acceptance. Expecting conflict does not make you cruel, it makes you ready. Preparation begins with abandoning illusion. There is no permanent safety, no guaranteed loyalty, no stable ground that cannot crack. Men fail because they build their lives on assumptions instead of readiness. They trust blindly, rely emotionally, and collapse when reality reveals its nature. The warrior relies on preparation, not promises. He does not wait to react, he trains to respond. When pressure arrives, he is already familiar with its weight. To prepare for conflict is to train the mind first. Fear lives in uncertainty. When you have rehearsed adversity in thought and action, fear loses its power. The body may feel stress, but the mind remains clear. You do not freeze, you do not panic, you observe, decide, and act. This clarity under pressure separates the prepared from the helpless. Most men discover who they are only when life strikes them. The warrior already knows. Self-reliance is the foundation of preparation. Depending on others for strength, direction, or security is dangerous. People change, circumstances shift, support disappears. A man who has not built inner stability collapses when these things happen. I train myself to stand alone, not out of bitterness but out of understanding. When you rely on yourself, betrayal cannot destroy you. Loss cannot break you. Change cannot unbalance you. Preparation is not paranoia. It is realism. You do not walk through life clenched in fear. You walk alert. You observe patterns, intentions, and movements. You notice inconsistencies. You listen more than you speak. The ordinary man is distracted by emotion and appearance. The prepared man reads reality as it is. This awareness allows him to avoid unnecessary conflict and dominate unavoidable ones. Mental endurance is a crucial part of preparation. Conflict often lasts longer than expected. It drains energy, patience, and resolve. The untrained man seeks relief quickly. He wants escape, comfort, reassurance. The warrior endures. He has trained himself to remain steady in discomfort. Long before conflict arrives, he has practiced restraint, patience, and persistence. When others break, he continues. Preparation also means accepting that you will be tested unfairly. Life does not fight cleanly. You may face opposition stronger than you, deception you did not deserve, or loss you did not cause. Complaining about fairness wastes energy. The warrior does not ask for fairness, he asks whether he is ready. When the answer is yes, circumstances lose their power to intimidate. Strategic thinking is part of readiness. You do not rush blindly into struggle. You assess timing, position, strength, and weakness. You conserve energy. You strike only when necessary. Many men exhaust themselves reacting emotionally to every challenge. The prepared mind waits, observes, and chooses its moment. This patience is often mistaken for weakness by those who do not understand it. They learn too late. Preparation is built daily, not in crisis. You do not suddenly become strong when conflict appears. You reveal the strength you have already built. Every disciplined habit, every moment of focus, every act of self-control is preparation. Each day you either sharpen your edge or allow it to dull. There is no neutrality. You are either becoming more ready or more vulnerable. Solitude strengthens preparation. In silence, you confront your fears without distraction. You rehearse scenarios. You examine your weaknesses honestly. You refine your thinking. The man who cannot sit alone with his thoughts will panic when surrounded by chaos. Solitude teaches you to trust your judgment and remain calm when there is no guidance. Prepared men are difficult to manipulate. They do not act from emotion alone. They are not easily provoked or flattered. They do not chase approval or fear rejection. This independence makes them unpredictable and dangerous to those who rely on control and deception. When others attempt to move you emotionally, you remain steady. When pressure increases, you become clearer. This level of readiness is exhausting for those who live comfortably. They cannot understand why you train when there is no visible threat. They mock preparation because they have never been tested. When reality arrives, they panic. You move forward. This is not arrogance. It is the quiet confidence of a man who has accepted the nature of life and prepared accordingly. To anticipate conflict is to respect reality. To prepare for it is to respect yourself. You do not hope life will be easy. You make yourself capable. When resistance appears, you do not ask why, you respond. When hardship strikes, you do not complain, you endure. When chaos surrounds you, you do not lose direction, you advance with clarity. A man who prepares for conflict before it arrives walks through life unshaken, because nothing finds him unready. Most men believe greatness comes from sudden inspiration. They wait for a surge of motivation, a perfect moment, a sign that tells them they are ready. When it does not come, they hesitate. When enthusiasm fades, they stop. This is why they remain ordinary. Mastery does not come from excitement, it comes from repetition. Quiet, relentless, often boring repetition. I learned that progress hides itself from the impatient. It reveals itself only to those who continue long after the desire to continue has disappeared. Repetition is misunderstood because it lacks drama. There is nothing impressive about doing the same thing again and again when no one is watching. No applause, no recognition, no immediate reward. The modern man abandons this process quickly because it does not feed his ego. He wants to feel special, not disciplined. But skill does not care about feelings. It responds only to time, effort, and consistency. Each repetition carves something into you, not just skill but identity. At first, action feels forced, the body resists, the mind complains, doubt whispers that the effort is pointless, but repetition does not argue, it simply continues. Over time, resistance weakens, movements become smoother, decisions become faster, what once required effort becomes instinct. This is not talent, it is conditioning. The warrior understands that boredom is a test. When excitement fades, when progress slows, when repetition feels empty, this is where most men quit. They mistake boredom for failure. In truth, boredom is the gateway to mastery. It strips away novelty and exposes commitment. If you can continue without stimulation, without encouragement, without visible reward, you are no longer chasing success, you are building it. Repetition trains patience. It forces you to accept that results are delayed, that growth happens beneath the surface long before it becomes visible. The impatient man looks for signs. The disciplined man trusts the process. He does not ask if it is working. He knows it is because repetition never lies. Every action compounds. Every day adds weight. Every session sharpens the edge even when the change cannot yet be seen. There is also humility in repetition. Each time you repeat a task, you are reminded that mastery is never complete. There is always refinement, always correction, always improvement. This prevents arrogance. The warrior does not believe he has arrived. He believes only that he must continue. This mindset keeps him sharp while others grow complacent. Repetition builds reliability. A man who repeats his discipline daily becomes predictable to himself. He knows he will act. He knows he will endure. He knows he will not quit. This trust in oneself is rare and powerful. Most men cannot rely on themselves. They break promises to their own standards. The warrior keeps them not once but always. Modern men seek shortcuts because repetition feels slow. They want hacks, secrets, techniques that promise quick results. These things create illusion, not mastery. Skill gained quickly is lost quickly. Strength built slowly endures. The warrior accepts the long path because he understands that what is rushed is fragile and what is repeated is permanent. Repetition also hardens the mind against doubt. The first time you act, doubt is loud. The 10th time it weakens. The 100th time it disappears. The mind learns that action continues regardless of thought. This separation between thought and action is critical. The ordinary man obeys his thoughts. The warrior commands his actions. There will be days when repetition feels pointless. Days when progress stalls, days when effort feels wasted. These days are not obstacles, they are filters. They separate those who are committed from those who are only curious. Every master has passed through this phase, every failure has turned back here. The difference is not ability, it is endurance. Repetition creates depth, while others skim the surface of many pursuits. The warrior goes deep into one. Depth creates understanding, understanding creates adaptability, adaptability creates dominance. A shallow man relies on tricks, a deep man relies on principle. When conditions change, the shallow man is lost. The disciplined man adjusts effortlessly. This process also removes ego. There is no room for self-importance when you repeat the same basic actions day after day. You become focused on improvement, not image. You care less about how you appear and more about how precise you are. This internal shift is where real power forms. Repetition demands acceptance of monotony. Life is not constantly exciting, neither is mastery. The warrior embraces this truth. He finds strength in routine, he finds freedom in structure. While others chase stimulation, he builds capability. Over time, the gap between them grows so wide it cannot be crossed. The greatest danger is stopping once you become good. Many reach competence and quit. They believe they have done enough, but competence is the enemy of greatness. The warrior repeats even after success, especially after success. He knows decline begins the moment repetition stops. Repetition also prepares you for pressure. When something has been done thousands of times, it remains stable under stress. In chaos, you return to habit. If your habits are weak, you fail. If your habits are disciplined, you prevail. This is why repetition is not optional, it is survival. You do not need inspiration, you need structure. You do not need excitement, you need consistency. You do not need validation, you need endurance. Repetition transforms effort into instinct, discipline into identity, and struggle into strength. Mastery belongs to the man who repeats long after others grow tired.